Good day, guys. Hope you've been well. I've been wanting to do this since last week, but unfortunately, I'm laid out with a high fever while still trying to work on a work presentation. So I'm going to make this a relatively short one and then get right back to bed. So, Haolongood somehow just keeps giving us models that many of us, including me, have hoped for a long time, yet inexplicably have never been made or remade. In particular, we saw the Edmontosaurus, the Haolongood, and the Uranosaurus. And especially impressive is that recently, they've made some changes to the sculpt of that model, correcting the manus to include that thumb spike, showing a willingness to listen to many of the fans, and that's really commendable. And now I'm absolutely delighted to present the one ankylosaur that's eluded my grasp for years, the nodosaurid Edmontonia. Edmontonia, as you may guess, refers to the Edmonton Formation. It was estimated to be about 6.6 meters or 22 feet long. This model is about 17 centimeters or 6.7 inches from the snout to the tail tip. That puts it at about 1:38 scale. The tallest point is the back here at 5 centimeters or 2 inches. And here we have the 1:35 scale humanoid and the 1:40th, which should, I think, nicely bracket where this guy is. Now, first impressions. First, those forward-pointing shoulder spikes are there, and some of the other characteristics you'd associate with Edmontonia. The general form is very nice and shows some of the typical nodosaurid features. The rather elongate body, the lack of a tail club, a rather flexible tail, and of course the large spikes projecting from the body. Again, this comes in two colors, the red and the blue, although this is more of a green really. In terms of color, you see that compared to Haolongood's other models, it seems rather monotone, arguably flat. However, when we look a bit closer later, you'll start to see some of the subtle infusions of other colors. The pose is really very pleasing to me. You can see how it's walking with a confident stride. You have this graceful sweep of the tail. So let's take a closer look, starting with the head. Now, judging from the more streamlined form of the head, without the postorbital eminence as seen in Rugoscidens, I'm guessing this is Longiceps. There's also this large central caputagulum. The texture is rather simple. The mouth line is unpainted, which would have been nice with some kind of differentiation. And here you can see that even though it looks pretty unicolor, there are some subtleties. And moving down, we'll see the osteoderms and the spikes. With respect to Edmontonia, we actually have very good fossils, but most of what I found were of Rugoscidens, and I haven't seen any good illustrations of Longiceps. But if we take just the Rugoscidens as a reference, the general idea of the armor and the spikes are there. Although the Haolongood does have a wider separation between these osteoderms. And in the form of the reconstruction in the Royal Tyrrell Museum, you'll see that it does follow rather closely. Now, if we take a once-over of the dorsal surface, you'll see what I meant in terms of subtlety in the little infusions of color throughout, such as in these dark mottles, these orange spots. And going all the way down, you can see that the osteoderms themselves also have very nice detail that's picked out wonderfully by the color. The projecting spikes are a feature of many nodosaurs, And in Edmontonia, the configuration of these is well known. Of interest is here. You see in this third half ring a bifurcated design in the lateral spikes, with a smaller spike sitting on top of this really large one, which is rather unique. Now, whether it's just an aberration of this fossil or the general rule for Edmontonia, it's often how Edmontonia is reconstructed, including this model in the Royal Tyrrell Museum, and also this Scott Hartman skeletal. So I'm very glad that Haolonggood has captured this feature in this model. And over here, you see in these rows of smaller osteoderms, they all have an oval keel form, which should be the case. And they're not in neat longitudinal rows, but the long axis kind of shifts outwards laterally. So the keels also adopt more lateral orientation the further out you go, with the most lateral ones here directly out to the side, as should be the case. So very good adherence to what we know about the material. In the tail again, you see more of those little spots of colour. There is this rather unusual seam going down the midline. Towards the end, we get the colour accented tip, Haolonggood's trademark almost. Going down the sides, you see in the flanks these mottles. And also down the arms. And the legs. So it's not quite as plain in colour as you'd assume at first glance. Look at the underside. Five fingers, 4 toes, now let's look at the blue, or as I said, more the green version. In here, you see that the scalation in the face seems more clearly picked out because of the colour. And overall, because of the rather different colours used in this one, I feel that the paint job here has more variety, while this one is generally just brown. The sculpt, of course, is exactly the same. And just like with the red, see these subtle variations. And very cool is just a very unusual colour of this. I have a fondness for green dinosaurs, which unlike in the vintage era, isn't so commonly used. And notice the textures, especially at the bases of the osteoderms. And as we look through the osteoderms, it's really nice to see how this blend of colours just look. Not just a straight green, but also elements of grey. And different also is the presence of counter shading, which is a kind of scheme we know of in Borealopelta. Now a more direct comparison of the two. In general, I prefer the green. It's just a more unusual color, and these blends feel a bit more complex to me. And so the overall scheme is just more interesting. Let me know which one you guys prefer. So much for the Edmontonia itself. Now, comparisons. Let's compare this to some other nodosaurids. First, we have the Sauropelta. The Borealopelta. Here we have the Collectae as well. And one of my favorites still, the Safari Sauropelta. And for some ankylosaurids, we have to of course look at the Haolonggood Tianzhensaurus. It makes sense to compare the greens. I think the different styles in coloration are obvious. And the yellows. PNSO's Pinacosaurus. Then the PNSO Ankylosaurus. And finally, for a size reference, the PNSO Wilson T-Rex. So that's pretty much it. This really is one of my favorites from Haolonggood. Not only is it a key nodosaurid I've wanted for a long time, the sculpt is really pleasing, capturing some of the distinct features of Edmontonia. The walking pose is graceful, and the colours, while at first deceptively monotonous, has enough subtlety to elevate this above the paint jobs of most other similarly priced models. So I hope you've enjoyed this very quick look. I apologize for the rather slipshod nature of this video, and I'll see you soon with a hopefully better video, probably with the PNSO Albertosaurus. I'm off to bed.